This is Before World News. Ibrahim Traore alerts his army and AES military to prepare as he exposes what France is planning. In his reaction to the recent daring remark by the former French Chief of Staff of the Armed Force, General Francois Lecointre, who on April 16, 2024 called on France and its European counterpart to consider what can be interpreted as recolonization of Africa for them to safeguard their interest on the continent. So, the Burkina President Captain Ibrahim Traore has called on his military and those of other members of the Alliance of Sahel states which have so far kicked out the French to prepare for a high-intensity war in the coming near future. Captain Traore, who was speaking from Banfora City in Burkina Faso's southern western Cascade region on the Tuesday of April 23, alerted his military that if indeed the former French military leader had the audacity to call for a recolonization of Africa and the Sahel region to be particular, then his soldiers should be sure that European armies are coming. So he called on Sahel Security Force to remain vigilant and train hard because they are not just fighting against terrorism, but they are fighting for decolonization of their country, since they are fighting against proxy of the likes of General Francois Lecointre and not regular terrorists. Traore's message is clear and assertive, leaving no doubt that any attempt to recolonize Burkina Faso will not be tolerated. Well, without saying much, take a listen to what he had to say here.
If we have to put up walls, we will. If we have to dig, we will do it. Congratulations for all the work and courage. You are going to start a new cycle of training for a high-intensity war. It's up to you, Chief Military Officer, to take that into account and start preparing for the war of high intensity. I hope I make myself understood. It's not just terrorism. Open your eyes. It's much more than that. It is a war of decolonization. And you heard in recent days, certain generals elsewhere, who have made it clear that if they have to come with their armies to recolonize us, they must come. Prepare yourself for high-intensity war, or they will come themselves, or they will come through their local vassals, which are here to try to fight our peace. So whoever, I mean anyone, whether it is terrorism or any other army which must come to disturb our peace, we must prepare ourselves to welcome them in the long term and intensely. That's why I tell you to prepare for high-intensity war. And we will follow this training. We will move on to other groups to intensify operations trying to pacify all areas, and this terrorism will be defeated. Because they know that it will be defeated, that's why they prepare either locally here, or to come with their armies to fight us. We will prepare to welcome them. What is our common destiny as Europeans is the Mediterranean and Africa, where our destiny is at stake. And so we have constantly tried, we the French, to draw Europeans into this awareness of the need to act collectively in Africa and the Mediterranean. And I am absolutely sorry to see the failure of our commitments in the Sahel, and I think we'll have to ask them the question anyway. Because we cannot imagine having at our doorstep an entire continent which is sinking into the destruction of the apparatuses of government and states. Sinking into a form of chaos, or civil war in many countries, and more countries, in difficulties, which are linked to climatic developments, which are even more dramatic on vulnerable populations like the African populations. In addition to a continent which will experience a demographic explosion like no continent has ever known. And sir, imagine that this happens in the next 10 to 20 years, and that it will have no consequences on Europe, because we live in a sort of bubble, protected by I don't know what else. It's quite simply unconscious, And therefore I think that this common interest should one day, to make Europe decide to act as a political entity, which will defend its interests itself, including by means of committing its armies. The withdrawal from the Sahel was difficult to accept for all those who were involved. I am the first to have a lot of difficulty swallowing this. It is a French, European and African failure which mainly stems from the fact that we have not understood that the action had to be a global action, for the restoration of the states, the return of administrations, the return of development, and if we do not achieve all of this simultaneously, and in a coordinated manner, we are heading for failure. This is what will happen.